He's going to work and then he's going to call in. So,
You're late. You're so late. I had to call you.
Okay, I think we're gonna get started. Hello, everyone who's here present. Hello, everybody who's here joining us online. Welcome to Alec's curation of me. Gonna start by sharing just a short video clip, which I am, and then Alec is gonna turn up his sound for us.
Picture of Alec looks like a little baby.
I actually have myself in bed.
With that, I'd like to go ahead and turn the time over to Alec. Alec, you want to share your screen up there? I will turn my mic off. You have the floor.
hello. Oh no. Oh no. Okay. Hello, everyone. In those pictures, you could definitely see where quarantine was because there was a giant gap in my hair growth. But hello, welcome to my curation of me. I wanted just to be able to tell my story through this and my growth at One Stone and in a different lens, but each of you has a really critical part, and even if I may not mention you in it directly or compliment you or whatever may come, I want you to know that all of you have been super key in making this happen. And I just want to thank you all for it because that's super amazing and impactful. And so feel free to chime in if you have anything to say. I'm trusting that all of you are mature enough to know when to talk and when not to. So, but a lot of this story, I'm going to start off by being honest. I have not rehearsed this once. Part of it is because I just wanted to be genuine and just have this come from the heart. And part of it was because I procrastinated it. But we'll see how this goes. So a lot of you are introduced to my mental health through the one event, although for many of you, it went beyond that and you'd known before then, but that was kind of an introduction to a lot of people about my mental health and what was happening in my life. But this story that I have, and I'm going to share, has a backdrop of struggle and specifically within mental health. But I think it's a lot more than that. And so I'm sorry if the story ends up being super sad or depressing. That's not what I want it to be, because I don't want that to be my legacy at One Stone. Like, I want my legacy at One Stone to be bigger than that. And so I'll try and incorporate it, like, happy stuff in if that's what is needed, but we'll just see what happens. And so my curation of me, I'm structuring around this song. One, it's by a band or a guy called Sleeping at Last. And I just was thinking about it and felt like this was a good song summing up my One Stone journey. And so I'm gonna play the first verse and then talk about my first year, second verse, second year, and bridge and chorus as my third year. And then I'm gonna finish it off by reading the whole lyrics aloud myself. And so I also want to point out, like, this is going to be a lot about relationships, because I think the biggest thing in my time at One Stone has really just been all of you in developing those relationships. But I'm just going to start off by sharing this. So. Okay, hello. Yeah, so my first year at One Stone was really just learning about who I was. Later, there was a lot of growth, but in my first year, I really just spent time trying to figure out my place in the world and who I was. Honestly, not intentionally, but kind of just because I was thrown into that situation. And so before One Stone, I was in a really big place of transition. My family had been going through a lot of change, and without realizing it, my mental health got pretty terrible. It just was really hard to just stay in that place, but at the same time, I didn't realize that there was another place I could be in. And so I was just in a really rough place, and I was there mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. And it got to the point where my mental health was really plugged into all of those other aspects of my life and kind of invaded everything. And so once I got to One Stone, it was just kind of a place for me to focus on other things and really try and live life differently. And it was really good. And I want to start off by thanking Elise, because my first year at One Stone probably would have sucked without my sister. In that, like I said, I was just in a really shaky place, and having somebody there that I knew to ground me really, really helped. And so, Elise, I just want to start off by thanking you that you've just inspired me to love others really well. And personally, in my faith, you've inspired me. And I see Jesus in you. And when I feel like I can't talk to anyone else about a struggle, normally socially, you're the person that I talk to. And so I just want to start off by thanking you for that. But my first year was kind of a roller coaster. I started off, and on my first day, the very first person I met was Elijah. Well, that's not true. one of the first people I met was Elijah. And I got to One Stone and we went in and there were just tons of random activities that I just kind of got lost in. And then we had to make these bottle rockets. And I got randomly paired up by Jesse with Elijah. And we just started making them, and Elijah just totally let me make them because he's like, you seem smart. and so we did it. And that was my first exposure to you as a person. And I mean, technically we didn't win, but in my eyes, we won that competition. We got second, but I call foul play. But it was an experience into a totally different place. And so I also just wanted to say, like, to Elijah, thanks. You've been there throughout my whole One Stone career, from the first day, and you've been a grounding block in being able to be funny, but also serious, and you're just inspiring, and you've shown me what it looks like to love God and all of that. But in my first year, like I said, it was a lot of exploration, specifically about me. And so I started interacting with people and Elijah, and started getting grounded in these relationships, and seeing how important they were to me, especially in a rough place. And so I also started exploring different topics. So I already knew about jazz band and I was interested in it. So I joined the One Stone Jazz Band, and that was a cool outlet for me, and being creative and doing that. And then I also got super into robotics. I was spending 30 hours a week doing robotics, and that was the year we got top 20 in the world. And that was just a really cool outlet, but it was also super stressful, especially in the midst of mental health. It really showed me how much mental health impacted every place in my life, because even there, I really was stuck in incredibly repetitive patterns relating to OCD. And so I also did this class, Baseline Buffet. This is the time when I started to get to know Nick. It was 3 subjects. I did coding, and then audio, and then Foundry. And we just were exploring stuff. And so that's where I got to know Nick, and we made tons of ridiculous songs, and Ripple is really what it ended up being. I can't even remember them all. They just were really dumb is all I remember. But Nick, I just wanted to thank you and say, like, I haven't been able to interact with you over the past year. But you, especially in my first 2 years of One Stone, were incredibly important. And just, you really allowed me to be who I was and explore new things. And we pushed each other to just explore the world around us in new ways. And you were one of my first real friendships at One Stone. So that was really important to me. And then I ended off my first year doing the YD internship. And so that was my summer experience where I did 6 weeks of rafting and rock climbing. And so I went and I did everything from doing a 7-day rafting trip on the Salmon River to an 8-day kayaking trip on the YP to driving up to Anacortes, Washington, and rock climbing for 3 days. And I was able to do tons of really cool stuff, but do that in a context where I was able to explore my faith, but more importantly, explore who I was and how I led others. And that was a really important time where I learned about myself, in that before then I wasn't able to name my mental health, and going out of it, I started to be able to. I never had the words OCD, and if I did, I didn't want them to be true because there's stereotypes around that exist, and I just didn't want to have that. And there was a lot of personal development. I created some really deep relationships, like living with people, random strangers for 6 weeks is like a super intense place to be. Like you go in knowing nothing, you go out having trusted your life in other hands multiple times. And then it was also, it was just a great place for me to also define my faith because it was a Christian youth organization, and it really helped me to be able to define what that looked like in different contexts. So that transitions me into my second year, which is really learning how I interacted with the world and came out of my shell. So let me skip to 1 minute and 23 seconds. Oh, yes. All the ways in my mind. If I could have God's favor, given time, or at least congratulations. Now you've learned my lesson. Price to this so-called perfection is everything. Spend my whole life searching desperately to find out grace requires nothing of me. And twice. So that was an important year in that I developed potentially some of the best relationships of my life, for at least thus far last year. I'm not saying that they're not going to get better, but like I said, I came out of my last summer experience specifically being able to define my mental health as OCD and scrupulosity, which is a subset of OCD that I struggle with. And I came out of my shell more when I wasn't around friends and really tried to embrace leading in a couple ways. The first was just D-Lab, with my first D-Lab being 4,060 donuts, which was a terrible D-Lab. It sucked. 7 people just didn't work well together at all. And in my second one was Youth Dynamics D-Lab, which was with Elijah and 2 others. And I was able to work on a team and really just be able to learn what it means to lead and co-lead in a different context and in ways that I haven't before. And then also with advisory, I just was able to lead in new ways. And that was really cool. And so there's 2 people that I want to thank here. The first is Will, because you're my advisor. I don't know what to say here. There's so much to say. When I first came into One Stone, I didn't know what to think of you at all. And it was your first year as an advisor, and it was a little bit chaotic, if I'm going to be honest. I think Nick can attest to that. But it was really weird and kind of a culture shock. But especially once I got in my second year, I kind of learned what it looked like to be part of an advisory. And I think a lot of that was due to you, you leading the advisory. And I just want to thank you so much for pushing me and having amazing conversations and just doing really cool things and being willing to give up your time to invest in an advisee who wasn't always invested himself. So thank you. And then the next is Gracie. I just want to say thanks. You showed me what it means to like truly love others in a different context. And you showed me what it looks like to break out of my own strict standards and have a little little bit more fun and relax in ways that are really hard for me to do. So thanks. And another thing I found in my second year was climbing. Go climbing. So it's really started after the YD internship. I went and I just randomly, I don't even know how Avery and me started climbing. We just did. And then we had the weirdest deep dive ever where me and Avery went and climbed for 4 days and made omelets and just did tons of random stuff. But it was definitely like the best deep dive of my time at One Stone. And that leads me into just thanking Avery. At first, I didn't like you at all. I just was not compatible with you in my first year. And I think a lot of that was honestly due to me and my mental health. I think both of us grew so much in the first year and we couldn't have been friends in the first year. But in our second year, I think we were able to like find so much connection and just through all the things that we did. And we just were able to have a lot of fun. And I think I wouldn't have been able to cope well with a lot of the things that happened at One Stone if it wasn't just for you and our relationship. And I'm so excited to go to Montana State with you and just explore so much random stuff. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm super stoked. Another thing that happened in that second year was the board and being able to kind of explore who I was in leadership in a different setting. And I really was trying to experiment with leadership and I really didn't nail it that first year, but I think that's okay. I think that was part of the leadership process. But it was a place to explore who I was and work on a team and really just take in a lot of information. And so I want to thank Kristen here. Thank you for, I specifically remember you went to my very first D-Lab presentation because it was with your brother, was our community partner. And then you were at my last one. And so something about that just felt like it kind of came full circle. And I specifically remember you telling me to be less timid in my first interaction with you. And so this relationship has just been really important in that you've showed me what it's looked like to be able to lead and be able to care for others and foster a good leadership style. And I've just learned so much intellectually from you, which has been super important. Another thing was just robotics. Once again, spent 30 to 35 hours a week for multiple weeks into robotics. That was a big chunk of time. And then I also had that summer an internship with Green Cut Robotics where I just learned about what it looked like to be in an engineering workspace and what parts of that worked for me, what parts didn't. And that was really useful. And then of course, climbing Devil's Tower was something that was super unique. 7 days or 8 days, something in there of just driving across the country and climbing random places, sleeping out of a camper and just doing stuff was amazing. And then that led to me breaking my hands the very next week, which kind of stunted all of that. That sucked a lot. It stopped me from climbing, which at that point had been my biggest mental health release. And it just kind of put me into a place where I had to learn to be patient and watch my hand grow back to healthy. And so that was cool. And then I'm going to switch into year 3, which is playing it from here to the end of the song.
I wanna sing this song we're singing. Writing from words repeating.
I remembered. So this is kind of brings me to my last year, which has definitely been my most impactful year at One Stone. And the theme of this year is just learning how I impact the world. And that was my senior quote, because I've spent my whole life searching desperately to find out that grace requires nothing of me. And I think that sums up my One Stone experience. I mean, I'm going to dive into some more specifics, but I learned that I want to impact the world, and in the lyrics of this song, I want to sing a song worth singing, write an anthem worth repeating. I want to be able to do things that change the world in big ways, even though I'm often super self-critical and don't like myself or don't like what happens. I want to be able to make an impact, and yet in the same space be able to not strive to earn grace from myself or others or from me, God. And so that brings me to this past year and the year that I remember the best. My first few years, to be honest, I don't remember super great because mental health played such a big role that it was hard to focus on a lot of the other aspects. But this past year, I'm just going to start all the way back at COVID. COVID, I don't want to talk about it anymore because we've all thought about it so much, and it's been talked about a million times. But COVID was a lot of me learning to sacrifice and give things up, and be able to learn what I'm willing to give up and what I'm not willing to give up, and define those values so that I can impact the world in new ways. And there have been times where I haven't made the best decisions, and like in what I think would be the wisest decision on COVID or whatever that may be. But I've tried to be the best friend possible to all my friends, and there are times where I wish things went differently, but ultimately I want to thank you all for staying faithful through the process and just being amazing friends in the midst of it. But I want to start off talking about COVID by thanking Micaiah. Micaiah and me have the weirdest relationship ever, in that we just randomly, I don't remember why, but we just started FaceTiming each other. Like, you knew the roads and I knew the roads. So somehow that means we just started talking. I don't know what that was about, but we did. It's been a super impactful relationship. And I think the biggest thing to take away from our relationship so far is that you've showed me what it looks like to see the world not only in black and white, but in gray. And so for somebody like me who wants things to be right and wrong and wants things to just be yes and no answers, you've showed me what that gray area looks like. And I just want to thank you for that. And another thing that was super important during COVID was my SDL. Me and Elijah did an SDL all about theology, and all about just learning that. And that was my favorite class at One Stone, maybe, in that I felt like I was, even though our end artifact wasn't maybe the best, it was just a giant compilation of notes. We had like 30 plus pages of notes that we ended up making over like 3 or 4 different topics. And I learned maybe more than I've learned out of any other class. Plus I grew my relationship with Elijah at many points to another level. And then just some other things that have happened over this third year is making an intentional impact on the board and in YLab. Both places I have been intentional lead. Given the past little while on the board, I have not put my all in, if I'm going to be fully honest, because I've just been so distracted by YLab. But I think especially at the beginning of the year, I really tried to focus on what it looked like to make change, and what it looked like to survive COVID as a board well. And also YLab, I think all of you knew what my Y Lab was, but it was like helping parents, giving parents the support they need in order to mentor their kids through math anxiety. And so I made a series of 5 different videos and handed them off to my my community partner. And that was just a way that I learned what it looked like to make change and apply passions to change. That was just a way that I learned what it looked like for me to change the world. And even though I can often be super self-critical and super harsh on feeling like I haven't made a big enough impact, it was me learning to have grace on myself in the midst of that. And even though it wasn't what I thought it was going to be, it's something that I'm learning to be proud of. And then finally, the biggest thing maybe that has happened this past year is the one event. And I think that was such a long process. It started off in the college admissions process of writing an essay that to this point is probably my favorite essay that I've ever written, talking about my mental health and about how that's impacted my life. And Teresa pushed me to talk about it at the one event. And at first, I didn't want to go as deep as I did, but I decided to push into naming it OCD within my talk and naming it what it is. And so I wanted to thank Teresa. I wish one of my biggest regrets at my time at One Stone is not spending more time with you. And I think that you've pushed me to do things that I would have never done. And you've pushed me to change the world in ways that I never would have. And you've taught me to be more vulnerable with myself. So thanks for that. The one event process was, I think, teaching me to be more open, but more than just being open, being vulnerable. I think that's a mistake that I often make is I'm willing to be open with people, but I'm not willing to be vulnerable. If you're vulnerable with something, like if you think of somebody being physically vulnerable, they're open to hurt, open to attack. And so you can be open with somebody, but that doesn't always mean you're vulnerable. And so I learned to write a speech that was truly vulnerable and didn't just state where I was, but stated how I planned on changing and how I planned on growing and everything about where I was. So that was super hard. And that process just was not easy, but it was one of my more important things in my time at One Stone. So I wanted to end off my curation of me by reading the whole lyrics of this song, because I think that it encompasses a lot of my One Stone journey and a lot of my personal journey. So I'd like to take a minute just to read them aloud. Hold on for a minute, because I believe that we can fix this over time. That every imperfection is a lie, or at least an interruption. Now hold on, let me finish. No, I'm not saying perfect exists in this life, but we'll only know for certain if we try. I want to sing a song worth singing, or write an anthem worth repeating. I want to feel the transformation, a melody of reformation. The list goes on forever of all the ways that I could be better in my mind, as if I could earn God's favor given time, or at least congratulations. Now, if I have learned my lesson, the price of this so-called perfection is everything. I've spent my whole life searching desperately to find out that grace requires nothing of me. I want to sing a song worth singing, or write an anthem worth repeating. I want to feel the transformation, a melody of reformation. I'll hold it all more loosely, and yet somehow much more dearly, because I've spent my whole life searching desperately to find out that grace requires nothing of me. And so that's been my One Stone journey. Holding things tight and learning to let them go, and learning to embrace change, and more than that, embrace myself and my flaws, and I'm still not anywhere towards the end of that, but I think I've had victory at some level in each of those places. And every single one of you has gotten me there at some level in different ways. And I just want to thank each of you for that, because without you, I genuinely don't know where I would be. So if I didn't get to talk to you personally or address how you've changed my life within the past couple of years, and you're in person, please feel free to stay so that I can talk to you or whatever. But each of you has impacted me in ways that I can never know, and I cherish you all so much. And I don't know what next year is going to look like at all moving off to college, but I know that each of you will have been essential to me getting there. And so I just wanted to thank you all for being super amazing. I love each and every one of you. And I couldn't be where I am without you. So there's that.
Thank you, Alec. So now we're going to move into just kind of sharing out shout outs or memories or kind things that you have or want to share with Alec. I will start as his advisor of chaos, or his chaotic advisor, still unknown fully. One of my first memories, serious memories with you was debating capital punishment and euthanasia in Of Mice and Men, and very, very serious, very thoughtful, and a depth of understanding and perspective that was to be respected immediately, and I appreciated that. And then I'd have you in advisory where you were incredibly goofy and fun, and so sweet and sour. I'm assigning sauces to my tots now, and you'd be a sweet and sour. But it's been really just an honor to get to grow with you, I would say, through advisory and through our discussions. And I would say that your life and your actions and your vulnerability and your service and goals and work are a song, and it's been a beautiful song that has definitely been worth singing. And we love you and appreciate you. You've impacted, way more people in much deeper ways than I think you'll ever know or realize. And so we're gonna miss you.
Really need to be patient, patient with yourself and patient with the world, and patient in the sense of not trying to open Cliff Bar boxes with knives, and that type of patient. Just kidding. I had to throw a little dirt on you. But really just patient with yourself and your mental health, or choosing college, or just your climbing, or your leadership. And it really just has been an honor to see you grow and see you, blossom from this shy little kid who wouldn't talk to me to now I can't get you to quit talking. So I'm just kidding, but I love you, and I'm so excited to share the next 4 years with you. So it's so exciting.
Okay, I guess we're going down the row. Alan, you've left me actually analogy-less. I was trying to think of analogies.
That's your biggest compliment.
I would say, so in words that you can understand. had we not become friends at Woodstone, that just doesn't compute, see, math word. It doesn't compute. I don't think that's actually possible, I freaking hated school before we were friends, math grade was trash, as you know, but yeah, as our friendship has become better over the years, 3 years, wow. I have to say, you've been one of the, if not the most impactful people at Winston over this last few years, everything from playing classic or not classic in the car or watching all the Rocky movies. You've been a great freaking friend, and we have to FaceTime at least, I don't know, however so often next year, because we're gonna maintain our friendship. And if you think we aren't, you gotta crude awakening. But yeah, you're a great friend. Thank you.
So for the remote audience, I'll move my laptop to people who are sharing out so that you all can hear.
I'm very grateful that we've gotten to hang out this year. And I know that one day we went to lunch with Mikhail and Gracie, I said to them afterwards, I was like, Alec and I can never talk. This is the most awkward relationship I've ever had. We just stood there staring at each other for like 10 minutes. And the fact that that's just completely changed. And over the past like 4 months, I've really enjoyed getting to know you and just having you in my life distantly since I've moved here. And I'm just really proud to see all the stuff that you go on and accomplish. So thank you. I'm gonna like go around. Lucy's turn.
It's been a great experience knowing you, even if it's just like you unknowingly letting me play duos with you in Fortnite, or if it's like having movie marathons. It's just been great watching you interact with our family, and especially Elijah, and just being a good role model for like what a good friend should look like. So, good job.
Well said, Luce. Yeah, what Lucy said and Elijah, but I want to also express my gratitude to you for being a good pal to Elijah. I don't know too many kids who would drive up to our house every single day for school during the COVID months, but you were that guy, and so thankful for you and your friendship and your influence on Elijah, and it was reciprocated as well, hopefully. But yeah, best of luck to you, man. Malcolm Dead, both you guys representing Boise in Montana. Yeah, that's it for me. Who's that? Dad? Gracie?
Back here.
Got it?
Okay. Alec, I think there's a lot of different things. There's a lot of wonderful words I could use to describe you, but I think the one thing that you've taught me the most, kind of how other people have already said, is that you showed me what a good friend looks like. And you truly have been one of the most faithful and loyal people I've ever met. And I think not only have you like always showed up and always been there for me and my family, but you always do more than you're expected, and you're always really thoughtful. And I always love FaceTiming you, and you're always willing to help me out with something I procrastinated. But you're just such a good friend, and I'm really grateful that you have showed me what that looks like. And you are also so much fun to hang out with. I just think I can't think of a lot of my other friends who would stay up with me and pull an all-nighter watching all the diehards. And you're the only person who stayed awake. It was Elise, Elijah, me, and my sister for part of it, but you're the only one who stayed awake with me, and I'll never forget that. And you're just like such an impactful person, and I think you really do make a bigger impact on people than you think, and you're just someone with such strong morals, and I just really look up to you and how faithful you are.
Oh man. Can this thing see me? No, I think it's not. Okay, anyways. I have a lot to say. I have a lot to say. But you are really one of the best friends that I've ever had. And I really have been dreading this moment, specifically this moment. But you were one of the kindest people I've ever met and one of the most loyal and trustworthy people I've ever met. And I also don't understand how we became friends. It just kind of happened. But I think it was really supposed to. And I'm just really proud of you and all the growth that you've had. And everyone else has said this, but you are just such a good example of what being a good friend is. And you are always there for people when they need it, and you're always there for me. And I'm just really grateful that I've got to be a part of your life. And I'm really excited to see what you do next year, and I'm really gonna miss you. But since we've had all the quarantine practice of FaceTiming, I know it'll be okay. But I'm really proud of you and excited for you, and I love you a lot.
I don't know why we're passing this around. Shout out to Elise. Hello, this is Teresa. We love you too. Alec, I think that I kind of echo what Will said. I think that you've been singing a song your whole life and making an impression on people that you have no idea are watching you. I'm so overwhelmed with gratitude and respect for you for what you did at the One Half event. I also share your regret about not getting to know each other well enough because I think we both have a lot to say to each other. I think that you're an incredible leader, one who leads by example and one who leads by pausing and thinking before he speaks. And that's what you've brought to this community and what you brought to the board. And I think that your impact is going to be great in your life, and you will change the world. And we get to watch you. And I just have so much respect and love for you, and gratitude for you passing through this place and for us getting to know you. And this is your home, and we're your family, part of your family. And we want to know how you're doing and where you go and how you're impacting the world forever. So don't be a stranger, and also call us if you need advice, help, strength, camaraderie, whatever it is you need.
Oh, Alec, sitting here contemplating. I think I want to start by saying that the growth in your hair the last year or so really represents a lot of the growth you've made.
That could have been a whole series.
That could have been, yes. As we met every month, I got to see that hair growth several times. I had actually forgotten about when I went to your Peeps on the Street, and that really resonated with me. I am so proud of you. You have grown so much over the last 2 years. I remember as part of the audit committee, you were a little reserved in the beginning and maybe didn't contribute as much, but you definitely were listening, paying attention. And as we moved into this year, you were the leader on that audit committee. You every month would take over. You were able to explain things. You explained the 990 to the whole audit committee. You explained the audit. You always were the one, hey, we need to meet. You were setting up meetings. You explained things. I mean, I just can't say enough nice things, and I cannot tell you how much gratitude I have for you. You killed it, in how you kids would say. I'm just super proud of you. And you're probably the best audit committee member we have had, honestly, from a growth standpoint, for sure. I'm going to certainly miss you. The audit committee is going to miss you. The board is going to miss you. You've made a huge impact on, like Teresa said, the whole community. And I very selfishly am going to miss you a lot. We may be calling you back every month next year.
I'm gonna pass because I promised you I wouldn't cry too much. We've had lots of crying.
Yeah, I can't tell if I'm on there, but I'll trust I am. Yeah, Alec, I am glad that they all went first, because I've tried to share what I think is truth about you. It's good to hear it from other people. You're an admirable young man. And you've been on a really hard journey. And the things that these people say, I hope that they embed as truths in your mind. Because that is true about you. You do impact others in a positive way. And you make me proud. So much for not crying.
No, okay.
All right, so remote audience, we have just a couple more minutes until we have to wrap up. But if you all would like to share, please feel free to unmute.
I don't know who should go first. Okay, I'll go. Oh no. Okay, so I was trying to think about this, and this was like, oh God, this is so hard. Okay. I don't know who's speaking last, but I'm not gonna lie, that really slow kind of like cry voice brought me to tears like immediately. Like holy crap. Like I don't know. That's an announcer voice there too though. Like whew. Okay, anyway, Alec, man, okay, I not enough time to say. I'll like FaceTime you later, something to share more, but like, you're just the greatest guy, okay? Like, I don't know, I gotta sum it up to that. I don't know, I'm trying to go fast here. Also, baseline buffet thing, that thing was fantastic. I was thinking about it during this presentation after you mentioned it. I think my favorite line was when we were having to rap with June and we had to freestyle it in one take. And in one of the takes, you said, "Yeah, I'm a big shark, and I'm gonna you are all little baby minnows." Yeah, like that was your diss. And I don't know, that stuck with me all these years. I thought that was really awesome. I don't know. Anyway, love you, man.
I know that Cassidy and Idris wrote in the chat, Alec, just so you don't miss that. I think you'll be surprised going into college how much more ahead of people you will be from Winston. Granted, I don't think that means you won't face challenges, but you are very well suited in your ability to love other people and communicate well and bring humor into hard situations. So I just know you're going to make some great friends, and I'm really excited to see what this next chapter is for you. I can see my face moving on the screen behind you. That's a little distracting. So anyways, I love you a lot, and I am extremely thankful for you answering all my FaceTime calls and just being a best friend that I can always rely on, even in hard times. And I think you're a very reliable person who, even when you have hard things going on, that you have the empathy to see what others are going through and relate to them.
Hi, Alec. I'm here. Turn on the light. I'll be real quick because I know we have to go, but I'm just so grateful for you and to be your Wild Up coach this year and get to know you and better. I feel like we have interacted in a lot of different ways, but I just have enjoyed every time that we've got to work together and so much appreciate you treating me like a peer. And I love working with you like a coworker, and you are an adult and you are going to go and rock college. I'm just so proud of you. And this presentation was amazing. You did such a thoughtful, great job, and not surprised, but I just wanted to say thank you.
With that, we just want to say thank you everyone for participating. Thank you, Alec, and congratulations.